Here I am in 1998, still stuck in the past, and I can't believe I bought a ticket for this movie. But you gotta admit, the marketing was pure genius. Sadly, just like that cake, it was a lie. Also, I'm turning off censor mode. So this episode only is rated R for your viewing pleasure.
Put the bass up, will you?
Hold it. Stop timing right now. I can already see you. Take your fucking hands off your goddamn keyboard right now. I know exactly what you're about to say. Demetrius, you know this movie sucks and you don't have to review it. Unfortunately, yes, I do. I do have to review this movie. Anything that has something to do with a giant monster or mech, case in point in 2 movies later, I have to review it. And yes, I actually do want to review other stuff on this show, but I can't do that unless I get through all the stuff on the current list. So with that said, let's get on with the review. I feel like I need a beer. Yeah, I'm 21 right now. I am legally applicable to drinking a beer, but I don't want to. I'll go without a beer. I'll just go with some headache pills instead. So anyway, throughout the lifespan of the 1990s, especially in the 2000s, video games, comic books, manga, and or anime, Japanese or not, did not translate well into live-action films in the US. Whether it be, and I'm sorry if I gave you guys PTSD, but hashtag no regrets, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Fist of the North Star, Street Fighter, Tomb Raider, etc. So what makes you think Godzilla would be any different from the rest? But how? How and why? How did this movie come to be? Well, I'm about to explain to you how. Coming back to the early 80s, or specifically 1983, director Steve Miner proposed an idea to Toho, to which they approved. The movie was going to be called Godzilla King of the Monsters 3D because, haha, 3D, gotta jump on that stupid bandwagon and shove it down our throats, even though every time we wear those fucking glasses, it burns our goddamn eyes. Seriously, the idea of 3D needs to burst into flames forever. However, because of that lame-ass concept, the budget was the main reason why it never got off the ground, so it was scrapped. Hallelujah. Skipping ahead to 1992, oh my, come on, again with 1992, Sony and TriStar purchased the rights to make a Godzilla movie back in the States. Okay, let's see what they brought up, or bring about. Skipping ahead to 1998, the end result was Godzilla, just simply titled Godzilla, a 98 edition, which was released on Memorial Day of 1998. Now, contrary to what you may believe, despite its humongous amount of backlash, and trust me, it does deserve it, it was still a success. Shocking, I know, earning $240 million domestically. Now, here is something new that I wanted to try out. I'll be going over the plot as usual, but I'll inject some background information on a particular part. So with that said, eh, grab yourself a beer, get some headache pills, and let's begin. Brother. All right. Here we go. The story goes as follows. An iguana nest is exposed to the fallout of a military nuclear test in French Polynesia. You mean the one underground nuclear test? Okay. In the South Pacific Ocean, a Japanese fishing vessel is suddenly attacked by an enormous creature, wonder what that could be, with only one seaman survivor. Seaman. Why did I say seaman? We're not in a porno. Traumatized, he is questioned by a mysterious Frenchman, who is the best part of the movie, we'll get to him, in a hospital regarding what he saw, to which he only replies, Godzilla. Now, for the sake of you, your sanity, and this review, I will be calling this monster, in this movie, Zilla. No. He doesn't even deserve to be called that. I'm going to call him Zill. Just Zill. Imagine you have some guy named Zill, and you just go like, oh, hey, Zill, how you doing? Dr. Nico, or Nick Totopoulos, played by Ferris Bueller, Matthew Broderick, an NCR scientist, is in the Chernobyl exclusion zone in Ukraine, the site of the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear disaster, the more you know. And he's researching the effects of radiation on wildlife, but is interrupted by the arrival of an official from the U.S. State Department. He is sent to Panama and Jamaica to study a trail of wreckage across land, leading to the recovered Japanese fishing ship with massive claw marks on it. Nick identifies skin samples he discovered in the shipwreck as belonging to an unknown species. He dismisses the military's theory that the creature is a living dinosaur, instead deducing it is a mutant created by nuclear testing. I do not know how you came to that conclusion without seeing the creature, but pseudoscience, whatever. The creature travels to New York City, leaving a path of destruction in its wake. Sort of. And this is the part of the movie where it goes from decent to falling up a cliff into a pile of cacti. The city is evacuated before the U.S. military, on Nick's advice, lure the creature into revealing itself with a large pile of fish. Oh, brother, do I need to say it? That's a lot of fish. And in the theater, my reply was, and that's a lot of brain cells leaving our skulls. Such a stupid line. Anyway, they fail to kill it, however, and their fight with it causes further damage before it escapes. So yeah, the military has the accuracy of a stormtrooper from the original Star Wars film, and god damn it, why do I want to watch those movies instead of this one? Nick collects a blood sample, and by performing a pregnancy test that only works on humans, discover the creature reproduces asexually, and is collecting food for its offspring. So let's take a break from the plot for a minute. So by now you might be thinking, what the hell did I just witness? Well, it may have something to do with the creature itself and how it came to that final result. Coming back to 1992, when the film was still in the development state, writers Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio had written a draft of the film where Godzilla was made by the civilization of Atlantis, and he was made to protect Earth from an alien called the Griffin. Why does that sound so familiar? Yeah. Stan Winston and his company created designs for Godzilla and the Griffin for the 94 film, and Godzilla actually looks like Godzilla. But for some reason, it has that awkward-looking face right there. Oof, duck face. So the only thing left was a director. Enter Jean Lebont, who demanded a budget of, keep this in mind, $100 to $120 million. But TriStar, for some reason, refused, and in December, Lebont left the project. You should have given the money, guys. You should have given the fucking money. 2 years later, in 1996, TriStar hired a duo of Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin, but at first, they declined, with Devlin stating, "Both of us thought it was a dopey idea the first time we talked. When Chris came back to us, we still thought it was a dopey idea." Whatever floats your boat, buddy. Whatever floats your boat. Eventually, though, both agreed to work on the project, and the first thing that they did, which should have been a bad sign, by the way, was to throw away everything and start over from scratch, including the original script, with Emmerich stating it had some really cool things in it, but it is something I would never have done. The last half was like watching two creatures go at it. I simply don't like that. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to hold my laugh there. uh, oh my god. Okay. Whatever. He also said, I didn't want to make the original Godzilla. I wanted nothing to do with it. I wanted to make my own. We took part of the original movie's basic storyline in that the creature becomes created by radiation and it becomes a big challenge. But that's all we took. Then we asked ourselves what we would do today with a monster movie and a story like that. We forgot everything about the original Godzilla right there. Oh, Christ. So let's talk about the design. Emmerich threw away the old design, stating it didn't make sense. What? He then later said, I saw the creature that they designed for TriStar's first attempt. John DeBon created a Godzilla that was very close to the original. But it was not right because today we wouldn't do it like that. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I couldn't hold in my laugh like that. Oh man. Anyway, Patrick Tatopoulos, last name sound familiar to anyone, was hired to create the new design. Tatopoulos thought the design was going in the wrong direction, saying, what they did, which was a mistake in my mind, was rather than going in a new direction, they tried to alter and make the old one better. And when you do that, first of all, I think it's very disrespectful. It's even more disrespectful for me to alter something existing than to take a fresh new direction. Yeah, says the guy who was also the creature design for that horrible Super Mario Bros. Movie. I'll let you be the judge. It also came ahead when Emmerich, Devlin, and Tatopoulos showed a maquette of the creature design to Toho in 1997, and as expected, everyone in the room was completely quiet, with Emmerich recalling they were speechless. They stared at it, and there was silence for a couple of minutes. And then they said, could you come back tomorrow? I thought for sure we didn't have the movie then. It should have been that way, but instead, producer Shoko Tomiyama, remember him, stated it was so different we realized we couldn't make small adjustments. That left the major question of whether to approve it or not. They did, only reluctantly. So, contrary to what you may believe, Toho knew exactly what they were getting. They could have said no, but instead they nervously put up their thumbs out and said, go ahead. Why not? Oh God, this is gonna suck. Getting back to the plot here, eventually Nick meets up with his ex-girlfriend Audrey Timmons, played by Maria Botello. Sorry if I stuttered there. A young aspiring news reporter. While she visits him, she uncovers a classified tape in his provisional military tent concerning the monster's origins and turns it over to the media, which is not a bad idea. Actually, no, scratch that. That is a bad idea. Imagine if it was Fox News. It will be chaos. She hopes to have her report put on TV as to launch her career, but her boss, Charles Kamen, played by Harry Shearer, haha Simpsons, haha 90s, uses the tape in his broadcast declaring it as his own discovery, and dubs the creature, again in my eyes, Zill. With the classified information released mainly because of his inadvertent actions, Nick is removed from the operation and disowns Audrey, before being kidnapped by Philip Roche, played by John Renault. Hashtag best thing about the movie. An insurance agent he met in Jamaica. Insurance? No, I don't believe that. Insurance does not respond that fast. That is a sham and it's a scam. Revealing himself as an agent of the French Secret Service, Philippe explains that he and his colleagues have been closely watching the events to cover up their country's role in the nuclear testing that created Zill. So one underground nuclear test created the monster? Okay. Suspecting a nest somewhere in the city, they cooperate with Nick to trace and destroy it. Meanwhile, Zill dives into the Hudson River, to which the river itself is not even that deep, to evade a second attack by the military to kill it, where it is attacked by Navy submarines. After colliding with torpedoes, Zill sinks, believed to be quote-unquote dead by the authorities. You should have double-checked, you fucking morons. Nick and Philippe's strike team, followed by Audrey and her cameraman Victor Animal Pelotti, played by Hank Azaria, hashtag second best thing about the movie, find a nest inside Madison Square Garden with over 200 eggs. Before the French can succeed in destroying them, the eggs hatch, and thinking the humans to be food, the offspring attack. Nick, Animal, Audrey, and Philippe take refuge in the garden's broadcast booth and successfully send out a live news report to alert the military. A prompt response involving an airstrike is initiated as the four escape moments before the Air Force jets bomb the arena. Audrey and Nick reconcile before Zill, who somehow survived, emerges from the garden's ruins. Yeah, just when you think the movie is over, that thing just shows up out of nowhere. Well, that didn't stop Kenpachi Satsuma from walking out. Speaking of, alright, so let me take a break from the story and let me tell you about this whole thing. So here's what happened. During this scene, former suit actors Haru Nakajima and Kenpachi Satsuma were obviously, let's just say, not happy when the film premiered. Nakajima stated, its face looks like an iguana, but its body and limbs look like a frog. And Satsuma, and this is actually true, by the way, walked out of a screening of the film at a fan convention called G-Con, or G-Fest 98 in Chicago, stating, "It's not Godzilla and it doesn't have his spirit." Ugh, Jesus Christ. If that isn't savage, I don't know what is. Let's get back to the movie here, and thank God it's almost over. Enraged by the deaths of its young, it takes its full rage out on the four, chasing them around Manhattan. After a taxi chase, they manage to trap Zill within the cables of the Brooklyn Bridge, even though it shouldn't be able to walk on said bridge anyway, allowing the returning Air Force jets to shoot it. Also, I know this is New York City and all, but come on, is it really that hard to catch a taxi? Fucking ridiculous. Zill dies from his wounds, and the remaining civilians celebrate. And I'm sure it didn't piss off anyone in the theater. Oh, who am I kidding? It actually did. So, Toho gave Emmerich and Devlin a list of what not to do with Godzilla. One of them on the list is having him die by normal weapons. And just like at every other point on that list, it was completely ignored. Who thought it was a good idea to give these guys a script anyway? And don't even tell me. I don't want to know. Because of that, let's get into the actual best thing about the movie, the critical response from fans and critics, plus my own First Amendment opinions on the movie. But first, Mickey D, if you must. movie came out, everyone hated it. And then hated it some more. Not before hating it. And 20 years later, they found tiny things to like about it, but they still hated it. Oh, did I forget to mention they fucking hated it? How hot was the hatred? It received overall negative reviews. Let's go through them, shall we? The first of his critics, Barbara Gasser, writing in the San Francisco Examiner, said in a one-star review, okay, maybe the special effects are slightly more sophisticated than they were in Jurassic Park, but the techno stuff is all getting a bit boring. When a movie is nothing but relentless action, Michael Bay, there's little chance for dramatic tension to develop. She's not wrong. Next, Mick Lasali in the San Francisco Chronicle wrote that the film was an overblown action monstrosity with no surprises, no exhilaration, and no thrills. What passes for thrills is a succession of scenes lifted and extended from Jurassic Park and The Lost World, which came out the year previously. Godzilla, shot from the waist down, steps on cars and strafes the side of buildings with his tail, to which he's not wrong. He's also not wrong. Rita Kempley of the Washington Post said the film neither draws upon our fears nor revels in the original's camp charms. The picture really isn't about anything unless it is the deep pockets and shallow minds of the honchos who beget this colossal bore. Oof, Jesus. And that goes without saying, huh? She wrote even further, stating, size vanquishes both substance and subtlety in the overhyped, half-assed, her words not mine, and humorless resurrection of dear old Godzilla. It might well be titled, It Gonna Got You Sucker. James, I'm not even going to pronounce his last name, wrote, Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin's big-budget Lizard Stomps Manhattan disaster flick has been written with the brain dead in mind. The script isn't just dumbfounded, it's lopsided. Godzilla lives and dies on special effects alone. I'm not sure if that's 100% true, but that's somewhat right, I guess. And finally, Chicago Sun-Times Roger Ebert, remember him, gave the film 1.5 stars out of 4, noting that one must carefully repress intelligent thought while watching such a film. The movie makes no sense at all except a careless pastiche, of its betters. And yes, the Japanese Godzilla movies are in their way better, if only because they embrace Drek instead of condescending to it. You have to absorb such a film, not consider it. But my brain rebelled and insisted on applying logic where it was not welcome. No, wait, hold on a second, people. It gets better. He actually wrote another review while he was at the Cannes Film Festival in France, stating, going to see Godzilla at the Palais of the Cannes Film Festival is like attending a satanic ritual in St. Peter's Basilica. It's a rebuke to the faith that the building represents. Cannes touchingly adheres to a belief that a film can be intelligent, moving, and grand. Godzilla is a big, ugly, ungainly device to give teenagers the impression they are seeing a movie. Oh, right in the dick. Oh, right in the nuts. Jesus Christ. All right. Now it's my turn. I can distinctly remember finding this movie in my father's VHS collection. Hey, remember those? Yeah, I do. And let me point this out right now. Just because this movie introduced me to the name and the franchise as a whole doesn't mean I have to cut it any slack. Well, that's not true. The only positives I could give to this movie is the entire first act. The setup was actually pretty decent. It sets up the mood, introduced the characters, if only they were not stereotypes, and the entire atmosphere was creepy. Unfortunately, after that first act, the movie, as I said earlier, immediately fell off a cliff into a pile of cacti. And the story just became a chore to sit through. Lazy writing, poor pacing, cringe-worthy dialogue at times, and mind-numbing plot holes that will tear your hair out. And the whole time I was saying, how and why? Like, I'm not joking. When those specific plot holes happened, I literally said, how and why? And I wish I could list out the examples, but I won't let a certain group have the satisfaction. You know what group I'm talking about. The other positive thing is Jean Reno. He is, without a doubt, the best thing in the movie. And Hank Azaria is second best, of course. you can see that they put in actual effort into their roles. It's such a shame that the rest of the characters are completely dull. While I do enjoy Matthew Broderick in The Lion King, the 94 edition, fuck that remake, in this movie, let's face it, he's kind of bland with no personality whatsoever. The rest of them are a waste of space and dumb stereotypes. So, moving on to special effects. Now, remember, this movie was still made in the 90s, so the use of practical effects are still present here. And when they're on screen, it's actually really good. And I guess the CGI does work within the range, but let's be honest here. Even when I'm in 1998, it's already dated. Now then, the monster by itself, as its own creature, it's actually alright. The design is a very interesting mix of a xenomorph from the Aliens movies and a raptor, although he doesn't get to do much throughout. Throughout the movie, he's treated as a spooked horse lost in New York City. Cloverfield. So, as a creature on its own, sure, Godzilla is making a name for itself as a different monster, and I like that. But as Godzilla, though, to quote Vince McMahon's theme song, no chance in hell. The final thing I wanted to talk about is the music by David Arnold. It's alright. The opening track and The Ship Gets It are my highlights. It fits well with the movie, but it's trying too hard to become John Williams' music, and no one likes an imitator. So with all that being said, is Godzilla 98 edition still as bad as everyone said it was? Well, let's ask the people themselves. If you think this movie is way worse than you remembered it, give me a hell yeah! And there's your answer. Like I said, there are some good things within this movie, but it's such a shame that they're completely buried within a giant pile of shit on top of another shit on top of another shit. As a Godzilla movie, horrible. As a regular monster movie, still bad. With that said, this movie earns the final grade of 20 unrealistic ideas of 100. Throw this movie in the fireplace and burn it in sight. So, is this the worst movie that I've ever seen? No, not even close. There are far more worse movies out there. In fact, the main reason why I can't hate on this movie that much anymore is that I found another movie that I would consider to be the worst. And that will be that one Gamma movie in 1980. And this other one that's on Netflix right now. Planet Eater. But hey, look on the bright side. At least the animated series is actually much more better. Highly recommended. Watch it on YouTube. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to head back to Japan. I heard Gamera's third movie is in production. I hope it's good. Until then, for more thoughts and First Amendment opinions on movies, anime, and video games, stay tuned right here on the Brumakian podcast and subscribe to Brumakian Productions for more juicy content. This has been Demetrius signing off. And Zil, good luck.